Okay, so Hillary is responding to the first question, which asks students to choose two of the four poems, either Digging and Immigrants, or Grandmother Would Rock Quietly and Hum, and Bilingual, or just two of those four. And the thesis would have to do with something with explaining how a younger generation may have less of a connection to the culture from which they've been born. What is the effect of these lost connections? And it's important for us to start here because I think that I'm going to read a statement, which is the thesis statement, at the end of the first paragraph that states that these poems demonstrate a younger generation has less of a connection to culture from which they've been born. And I'd also like to see that in the introduction that she identifies the effects of those lost connections. So let's pull up her paper and just look at her introduction. Now I'll read this aloud and make comments as I go through. I won't really focus on punctuation, grammar, or spelling. The key here is to teach you guys about intro. And so one thing that I'll do here, I'll write a comment here. And the comments, as you can see, are as follows. An intro is like a map. It should tell the audience, the reader, me, exactly where I am going. So, I should know that this is an essay that analyzes two poems, because that's what the assignment asks you to do, and the thesis, or the goal, right, where you're going, of the essay. So I need to know, right, I think, the titles of the poems, the authors, or the poets, right, the main ideas, and lastly, the thesis statement that shows or argues that, right, those of a younger generation lose a connection to the culture. Okay? All right, so connections with the culture can be challenging to keep when you are in a place that does not practice the same. Whether there's religious beliefs, language spoken, occasions celebrated, many parents from different cultures fear that when moving to America, their children will lose the connection with their culture and may not carry on family traditions. This sounds pretty good so far. If this happened, the generation to come may not know the traditions, celebrations, and even the beliefs of their ancestors. Younger children that don't grow up around their culture may not understand the thing of the culture. And this not being to define why they believe or practice things they do may bring shame or even doubt, right? The fear is not only the loss of connection with the child to the culture, but also the loss of connection from parent to child. Now, if I'm reading a paper that is a sort of social or psychological assessment of children and the loss of culture from when they move maybe to this country, it's pretty good. But is it a map? And you all can speak. It doesn't have to be just me. Is it a map? Shout out. Does it tell me what I'm going to be reading about? Do you think this tells me that I'm going to be reading a paper about a poem, about analysis of two poems? No. It does not. It does not. Right? So I mean, an intro should tell the reader exactly where I'll be going. The landmarks. So what Hillary needs to do here, and I'll state this down here, okay, I'll put a comment here. Don't forget to tell me what I am reading. An analysis of two poems. Does she have a thesis statement? I think so. I expect to read in the body about the fear that children will lose connection, because that's what I'm getting right from here. Right? So really it's the whose fear? Whose fear? Parents' fear. Right? And then also the parents' fear that the child will not only lose connection to the culture, and I'm taking this exactly from where Hilary wrote this, right over here. And the fear that, on the part of the parent, that the child will lose connection to parent or parents. So I'm hoping that's what I'm going to read in the body. So this is sort of like a lesson for you guys, that the introduction needs to identify the poets, the poems, right, and the main ideas. I think she does a pretty good job of getting the general idea out. I just think what we need to get in there, and everybody needs to get in there, if you don't have it right now, is that map-like sense out of the intro.